Alright, I've done what I can at this point to review whether or not you could build an accessory dwelling unit on your lot at 253, including I left a message at the building department asking that specific question. But in the past day or so, I did what I could to look into what the code says with regard to this. And you're in the MR5, and accessory dwelling unit is allowed conditionally. So, to having tracked down what conditional use actually means, this is the section of the code, and I'm just going to look at it with you so it'll be slow enough for you to read in any event. It doesn't have to be an architect or engineer in this residential setting. So after you get it together, and I'm assuming that you have to, before you see anybody, you have to see the historic district people, whether they make you invest in that first, before, either way you're going to have to see them. I don't know whether it's before or after. And these are some of the additional requirements that would have to be met under their residential contextual standards. Which is all just basically good design. And as I said, I'm pretty sure we comply with all of that. But the whole process seems like it takes a while, because there's the BZA or the Historic District Board, first or last. Both of those have to occur. So I would say that's probably some sort of 2-month procedure, kind of at a bare minimum. And when she telephones back, even though my earlier question is moot, and we've now arrived here, I will ask her, what her projection of that process, the length of time that process would take. So I think that'll do it on that, but I will finish the rest of this film for what it's worth as well. I will just go through this as rapidly as I can. So these were the requirements of your lot, and you're allowed to cover 65% of it. Side yard setback, and that's for the house. Yours is already non-conforming there, is 3 feet. But accessory buildings are governed a little differently. This here, detached accessory buildings, including accessory dwelling units, they want it 5 feet from the back. They had a footnote at number 1. I'm going to see what that footnote was at number 1. So they're just saying that the footnote there is that it has to be that same 3 feet back that's required for the principal building. And it has to be 10 feet from your regular building, from your main building. And then this is what I thought they meant by conditional, is that it has to be further regulated. An attached or detached garage shall not exceed 900 square feet. And here it says that they are permitted 1 detached accessory dwelling unit, which may be up to 66% of the total square footage of the principal dwelling. And the detached ADU can't exceed 33% of the principal dwelling. And your principal dwelling is 1,195 square feet. Now some of this was put together after other parts of it, some of these slides. And this one in particular, I investigated this further because it kind of makes moot a few of the things that I discussed further along in this series of slides. But this one in particular I tracked down the numbers on that, and they're this. This is your principal building's about 1,194 square feet, and you are allowed to add an additional accessory structure total, even though garages could be a maximum of 900. Your maximum new coverage on that lot is going to be 788, just based on that requirement. 788 square feet can be the first floor, and that's doable, but because that's even bigger than what we discussed over the phone, I think, slightly. But when you go down to their second requirement, which is this 33% bit, the detached accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed 33% of the principal dwelling, and that's if they allow us all of that porch area. A lot of that 1194 is that porch area, but if they do allow that, and I'm kind of thinking they won't, they would let you do 33% of that, which is 394. Your house and porch together is 1194, meaning that the dwelling unit, consisting of a kitchen, a bathroom, a sleeping area, has to be done in 394 square feet. So that is a little interjection there. But again, I think a lot of this now, a lot of the rest of this film, now that I've done this, conjecture is going to be based on whether they accept that square footage of the porch. Because otherwise, that number comes down even quite a bit more substantially. You're probably making it almost undoable, getting into tiny home territory. That's that interjection. Continuing with the other slides, however, I looked at this and I was wondering about that fence, which is built right on your sidewalk. So there's a quick series of slides about this. I wasn't sure whether you did that fence with a permit, and if you did not, whether or not it's compliant. I was looking at various things based on this lot plan from one of the past plans, and whatever one we finally gave them, they ultimately accepted. And this is what I was showing here. It was accepted. Something like this. So I decided to go back. I went back to this today and reinvestigated this and got a layout of that existing thing and updated yours accordingly, because I had this at 35 feet. They have it at, I don't know where it came from at this point, but that was back 10 years ago. And they now have it at, then or now, have it at 36.86 feet wide. So I adjusted this plot plan to reflect that apparent new reality. And this was, I wasn't sure whether they were allowing 50-foot right-of-way for Josie Street, or exactly what was happening there. This, you can see this overlay is pretty close to what they have, and they show that your property line starts 3 feet back from the sidewalk. But that'll have to be some sort of hurdle that will probably have to be covered, because they'll come out there for this historic thing and look at the property, etc. So I had started doing this with this calculation. In terms of what you have covered now, you would technically be allowed to add an additional 1,940 square feet of max additional coverage, except all of that is tempered and further limited by those other regulations. And recall, we said 788 square feet. If they allowed us all of this porch area as part of your living area, they would allow this garage to be 736 feet. I made it as wide as it could be with a 3-foot margin on each side, which is 30 foot 8 inches wide, and this is 24 inches or 24 foot deep. The one shown is 736 square feet, and it's 5 feet back from the property line as required, and 3 feet from each side lot line as required. You can't build that. You can go to 788, which is, that might get you, could probably go 25 feet deep, 25 foot 4 inches deep, and still meet that code. But you can't go 30 feet deep at all. And if it's 24, that's going to put about 45, 46 feet from your house, if it's kept 5 feet from the rear property line. I don't know how far that makes it from the alleyway, but if you want more margin back there to pull cars up here, for example. I don't know if they'll let you pave all of that or not, but that would be that. And that's it really. That gets you far enough along, and when she returns the call, I'll give you an idea, A, if I was right about all of this. Particularly, I'm really concerned about that, whether they include that porch, because if they don't allow that as part of that square footage, then that area there is only 678 square feet. That would mean that we would have to accomplish the living area in 225 square feet, which is pretty tight. So I will let you know on that. Okay, to kind of summarize and close this film, if they allow all of this square footage, then you could build this 736 on the first floor, and the second floor, if you go upstairs, you can build 384. This is the first floor underlaying, and that's just a quick interpretation of how that might be done. I think we could accomplish something sensible in 384 square feet. I think the alternative would just Airbnb is probably the best you could do. Just 200 and some square feet would be tight. But that's all. I will let you know when she telephones me back. I'll have several questions for them, particularly with regard to this and the other things, timeline, etc. But that's all for now. Thanks very much, and I will be in touch.